Thanks for joining me on Tropical Weather Impact. It is Monday, July 21st here from New Orleans. We're getting ready for a big heat wave across the northern Gulf the next few days before we start to see some tropical moisture build back in. So a lot to cover here in our forecast today. Main things we're going to be talking about are that intense heat wave. It's not going to last very long, about 3 solid days where we're going to be dealing with heat index numbers 110 or even higher. We will likely have heat alerts each of those days. And then we start to see our focus a turn towards heavy showers as a tropical disturbance slowly moves through the northern Gulf. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's looking like a very similar setup to what we saw last week. It may just be spread out even longer as we go through this week. So here's where we stand right now. Hurricane Center not officially tracking anything with development chances, but this is going to bring us some rainy weather as we go through the week here. We've got this area of tropical moisture situated along the eastern coast. There's Georgia and South Carolina. This is tied to the remnants of Index 93, which last week was over Louisiana. The moisture traveled north around the ridge of high pressure, and now it's back out over the Atlantic. You can see a healthy burst of showers this morning sitting there off the Atlantic. Now, there's another feature that's going to play into everything here, too. It's an upper level low that is spinning off just east of the Bahamas. Now, both of these features are riding around this giant ridge of high pressure here, and so they're all coming towards the east, and in conjunction with each other, you're just going to get a large area of showers and some thunderstorms that enter the Gulf. Now, it wouldn't be shocking later this week if the Hurricane Center does throw one of their little yellow lemons or blobs across the northern Gulf. I don't think the development chances, at least the signal for it, doesn't look very high at all. And so not stressing about this being a big system to develop into a named storm or anything, but we're going to get more disturbed weather across the northern Gulf here as we head into the upcoming week and even into this weekend. So you can see the large area of moisture. It's going to be situated off the Carolinas and Georgia today. Tomorrow it's over Florida with extra rain, and then here we go. Wednesday it's moving into Mississippi and Louisiana. This is when our chance for scattered showers will begin to go up, and then this will be with us all the way through the week. And notice Thursday into Friday, you really start to see that concentrated area of moisture. Now, looking at the latest data here, again, there's not a whole lot of signal for this thing to blow up in a named storm. There's really no signal at all for that. But I do think we're going to see some low pressure form. Thing is, it's going to be tangled up in that upper level low too. So it really may not be completely tropical, but you may see some low pressure form. And at the end of the day, this is just going to be rain from not only Louisiana, but Texas into Louisiana and along the northern Gulf here. That chance for rain will be elevated all week long. And anytime you get showers and you've got this much tropical moisture, they're tropical showers and they're heavy. And so if you get under one, you can pick up a lot of rain in a short amount of time. So a very similar setup to what we saw last week with regard to, it probably doesn't have much organization to it, but it does bring rain and at times heavy rain. There were some areas last week in Louisiana that picked up over a foot of rain between a couple days. And then there was other areas that saw half an inch of rain. And so that's just how these things go. It's impossible to say where those heaviest showers and bands will set up, but there is that potential across the northern Gulf as we go through the latter part of this week. Again, a couple things working against this is, we've got the moisture here. There's a lot of dry air in the Gulf the next few days under that ridge, but that tropical moisture here, your upper level low spinning here, and as the upper level low and that tropical moisture enter the Gulf Wednesday, Thursday, notice you do still have some wind shear coming out of the north here. You've also got this ridge of high pressure pushing some shear down, and so it's not the perfect environment. Again, not to say we won't see some low pressure form, it's not the perfect environment with that upper level low. I would assume that the shear could remain on the elevated side, but that moisture, it's not going to be in a hurry to get on out of here. This is through the weekend. We still have some of that tropical moisture across the region. The reason it's not moving very quickly has to do with, well, the steering currents. And like last week, this big ridge of high pressure keeps things from moving too quickly once we get further out in time. So the big heat ridge right now is centered right over New Orleans and surrounding areas. And that's why it's going to be so hot and mostly dry for your Monday and Tuesday. Push this out in motion. The ridge gets stronger to the north, starts to get stronger off the east coast and out towards the Bermuda High. It's weaker now as we go out in time, and so that's allowing that upper level low to squeeze in here. That's allowing that moisture to squeeze in here, and so that's why things are traveling west across the northern Gulf. Outward in time, you can see there the Friday and Saturday time frame, we finally start to see that ridge break down, so any moisture down here tries to get tugged to the north and get stretched out, and so it's just going to take some time for that moisture to lose its grip on the northern Gulf here. I don't think we're going to see widespread flooding everywhere, but like last week, there's likely going to be some heavy rain at times. I think it's hard to get into the exact numbers of how much rain we get here, but you can see the signal for heavy rain along the entire northern Gulf as we go through this week. This is just one model run from the European, but it gives you the idea that we could have some higher rain totals scattered in there. I think most places 3 inches when it's all said and done, 3 to 6 inches with isolated higher amounts. Again, very similar to what we saw last week. Elsewhere out in the tropics, Hurricane Center is officially tracking Invest 94. Reason I didn't start with this is because it doesn't look like a major problem and it's not anywhere close to the U.S. Now, this is probably going to bring in some rain here for the islands by Wednesday, but the thing working against this is dry air and wind shear. So at the moment, it actually doesn't look too bad. When you look at it on satellite this Monday morning, you can see that the feature itself, it's certainly not organized, but if it's going to do any organization, it's going to have to do it today because it's got this wall of dry air, this Saharan dust that's been traveling along and north of this feature. It's probably going to get tangled up in it fairly soon, and so we do expect that this would get choked off. Dry air is going to limit thunderstorm activity, and without thunderstorms, you're not going to get a system that's trying to organize at all, and so that's why this is not going to be any major problem, we don't think. Again, it's probably going to bring some rain and a little breeze to the islands here by Wednesday, but I just don't think it's going to blow up into anything major. So not only do you have dry air, you've got wind shear. This time of year, the Caribbean is known as a graveyard for tropical systems, and there's a reason for that. It's because every single year about this time, the wind shear is just screaming through the Caribbean basin, which limits anything from being able to develop. A lot of times these tropical features will enter the Caribbean. They're moving so fast that they can never really wrap up. You can't get all the ingredients you need for a tropical system to actually come together. And so anything that does enter the Caribbean this time of year, it usually is just immediately squashed by the wind shear, those fast-moving trade winds, and we also still are getting our big plumes of Saharan dust. So you really don't have a whole lot working for this feature or Invest 94 to develop into anything. I'll show you our two global models here because they do show we do have some unorganized spin down here right now. The red is the Euro-American model, the green is the European model. It's not showing any significant development, but as we go out in time, you can see between today and, well, really just today is your opportunity for this thing to organize, but I don't think it has a very high chance of doing so. And then as we go out in time, here we are on Wednesday. The European model pushing it a little bit faster with those trade winds. The GFS a little bit slower here, but the general thinking is as this approaches the islands here, there's Puerto Rico, there's the Virgin Islands, and then further south, you'll probably have a little rain from this, but more so just winds. It's going to be breezy and you're going to have some dust here with a few showers as we go into Tuesday night and Wednesday. And I think that's probably going to be the extent of this thing as it pushes off towards the west. Now, when you go out in time into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, does it ever try to come back alive? Probably not. And so this thing just gets swung through the Caribbean, and then eventually with this ridge sitting over the northern areas of the tropics, it probably just pushes whatever this tropical wave is into Central America. And so that's why I'm not really sold on that thing really doing much of anything in the long term. So out there in the tropics, really the feature to watch will be this northern Gulf feature. So the main thing to watch out for the rest of the week, we're going to start out with the intense heat. That intense heat for the northern Gulf all across the deep south, heat index numbers well into the triple digits as we go through this week. This feature will bring some relief from the heat, but then it'll bring that risk for maybe some heavy rain as that tropical moisture drifts along Florida and then along the northern Gulf. Now last week as we were watching Invest what was 93, models really didn't do well with it in the long term or in the near term. And what I mean by that in the near term is that as it was trying to develop here off the east coast of Florida, models were always behind on what it actually looked like. Many of them didn't even have an area of low pressure. It did end up having a low pressure, but what helped it to not intensify anymore was it was over land for so long, and so land interaction really limited that. Now, we will see how this one evolves. Right now, again, the stress level is very low. There's not a whole lot of model support for this to do anything, and just looking at the environment itself, it's not in the perfect environment. Last week, we didn't have an upper level low at least not as strong as this one, tangled up in it. And so we were more so under a ridge of high pressure with Invest 93. And that's why we were like, well, if this thing gets out over the water, it certainly could organize. This one's a bit different of a setup in a sense that it will probably have more wind shear over it as that upper level low tags along with that tropical moisture. Either way, it's going to bring some rain along the northern Gulf here, and we do expect those heavy showers at least on and off between Wednesday and into the weekend. That's for New Orleans, Florida. It's going to start a little bit earlier later today and into Tuesday. That's going to do it for our tropical weather impact here on your Monday, July 21st. We continue these daily updates for you. I'll see you right back here tomorrow.